Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Kevin Creatives. Check out my custom figure-ized standard Gohan Super Saiyan 2 mode. And I'm really excited to go over this one because it's my first non-robot model kit. It's the first time I've done like a human type model kit. And I know, actually he's only half human. He's really half Saiyan as well, please remember. I know, but whatever. It's the first human-looking model kit that's not at all a robot. So I was really excited to try this out. I figured Gohan was kind of a simple design, just a small little figure, nothing too complicated to him. He just wears his gi and that's pretty much it. I thought this would be a good opportunity to try something new, learn some new skills, and I was right. This is very different. This is not at all what I was expecting, and I'm happy for it. I'm glad that there is some diversity out there in model kits in general. I don't have to worry about getting bored with just doing the same thing over and over. It's fun to try new things. So there was a whole bunch of new ideas to try out. So I knew I couldn't go about this the same way I approach most of my other kits because this is nothing at all like those. This is clothing, this is skin, this is hair, this is eyes, this is a mouth, this is shoes. There's lots of different textures going on here that I needed to try and replicate, and I just really wasn't sure how, so I figured, alright, let's just, however I think I should do this, I'm just gonna do it, and we'll just see how it comes out, because honestly, I do have another Gohan in the works. He is in my backlog, because there is the option to do Super Saiyan 2, as well as Super Saiyan 1, and I do like both looks, so I went ahead and bought two, so I could try both out. One thing I really liked about this kit was the simplicity of it. It's not very complicated, and I think that's really how the entire figurized line goes, which I really like. It's a really cool model kit line where you get really pretty much perfect representation of the characters from the show, but they're not that complicated and they're pretty affordable. I mean, they're getting more expensive as time goes just because that's how it always goes, but I think this was like a $25 to $26 kit, which honestly for that price, you can't beat that. That's pretty good. So I figured since this is a humanoid kit, once again, I should fill in the seam lines because there shouldn't be any breaks. On a robot, you can fake it and say that this is just the panel or something, but you can't really do that here with the clothing and the skin and all that. So I filled in the seams on, I believe, the biceps, the forearms, thighs, the lower legs, pretty much everywhere I could. Even on the torso, I filled in the seams. I just figured I'd try everything and see how it went. And for the most part, it came out all right. Or this is the first time that I had filled in a seam, painted something, and then masked off a different part because that needed to be a different color. So it was a new experience in that regard in terms of masking and making sure that I could fill a seam with two different colors in it. It kind of worked. I did a fairly good job. You can't really see the seams, which I'm pretty happy about. So for the clothing, what I went ahead and did is I just primed it up in black paint and then went over it with purple paint. I wanted to test out and see how it would look with the heavier shadows. I'm typically not a fan of doing stuff like that with the Gundam type model kits, but I figured for clothing, maybe if I did just leave it pure black and then went over it again with purple, maybe that would give me the proper shading I wanted. And I think in the future I'm not going to do that. I think this is a good test. It looks alright. It's definitely not bad by any means, but I think I'm going to prefer just to do my normal way. So on the next one, what I'll probably do is just paint it up in black and then go over it again with dark purple and then one more time with purple. Instead of just going straight from black to purple, I might ease it up a little. I think that's what I probably should have done. This skin looks mostly okay. I couldn't really figure out how to go about a skin tone. I realized that that's kind of a bit more of a challenge than I was expecting it to be, just because the way skin looks in terms of the outside color, because skin has lots of different colors and lightings and shadows to it, so I wasn't really entirely sure how to go about it, so I tried to keep it as simple as possible. I think I just did it with sort of like a tan skin color first for the first layer, and then I went over that with more of a lighter skin color, and I think it came out alright. In the future, I think I'm gonna try adding a more pinkish flesh tone to it, just to give it a bit more life, so that way it has kind of like that blood circulating through underneath the skin type of vibe. I don't know, those are just kind of things I was thinking about. I was trying to think of like how does your skin look in certain lighting versus, you know, your skin on your hand versus the skin on your face. I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? The mouth I think came out pretty much perfect. It was just white with red for the inside of the mouth, and while that was all one piece, I was able to just mask it off and it came out pretty great. What's really cool is the eyebrows, the white part of the eyes, and then the pupils are all separate pieces. I did unfortunately mess up my eyes because I think I put it in wrong and had to take it out and re-put it in, which damaged the paint. Sucks, but oh well, that's just how it goes. But for the most part, I think it came out alright. I think what I did was I sprayed the eyes with a gloss coat, just because that's how your eyes are. They're watery and liquidy. So I wanted to make sure that showed on this as well. I wanted to give it as much of a real-life look to it as possible. The hair was pretty tricky, so what I did was I first filled in the seams on the hair as best as I could. That was a challenge all on its own, just because there's a lot going on with the curves and the shapes of the hair and the points and everything, and putting the two pieces together that didn't want to close all the way, breaking the seams, and it was a whole challenge in itself. I think it mostly came out alright. Pretty happy with it. I mean, hair isn't perfect, so the fact that there's little frays and stuff going on, that kind of makes sense, so I'm not too beat up about that. The color ended up being harder than I thought too. I think what I should have done is not gone so hard on the orange. I put in too much of an orange underlayer and should have done just more of maybe a yellow-orange underlayer, and then from there brighten it up a bit. Instead, I wanted to have a bit more shading to it, so I started with a heavy orange, then yellow-orange, then yellow, and just went from there. And while it does have a very yellowish look to it, I don't know if it has a very bright golden look to it like how it did in the show. So not bad, but we can probably do a little better. So I'm going to try some things out in the future and we'll see how that goes. I really like how the panel lining worked out in terms of the hair and the skin. I just did that with the brown panel liner color, and I think that works pretty well. It does a good job of emphasizing the shading in the arms with the contours of the muscles and all that. And then same thing with the hairs. There's little slits in the hair just to kind of break it up, and I think the brown panel liner really emphasizes that, so I'm really happy with how that looks. The shoes actually came out surprisingly nice too. I gave him some. Gohan's got some pretty fly kicks I wanted him to show off. Those are the Air Gohans, so I figured I'd do them justice and give them some real life to them, and I think they came out pretty realistic, I gotta say. I wasn't entirely sure how I wanted to go about this. I didn't know if I wanted to give it more of that anime kind of cartoony brown look, or if I wanted to give it more of a realistic kind of sandy, dirty brown look. So I kind of went with the more of the realism look, and I actually really like it. I think I just did like a dark brown. I did like a black base for the primer, and then a dark brown on that, and then just highlighted it with a just kind of a lighter, dustier, sandy brown. Then I think I went over it with some just brown panel liner over it, just kind of gave it that dirtier, grimier look. And it looks really nice. I have to say the shoes I'm actually surprisingly happy with. When I did use the brown panel liner for the shoes, when I just went over it just to give it that grimy look, it did kind of crack the ankle, so now it's super loose and can't hold itself up in that regard. He can still be posed, but it's just very limited now because of that cracked ankle. That's pretty much the worst spot it could have happened, but oh well. I went ahead and filled the seam on the energy effect as well. I figured it's supposed to be a perfect sphere, and then that shouldn't be too difficult to do. I was mostly happy with how it came out, but I think what I did was I just went over it with a 600 grit sandpaper just to clear everything out and smooth everything over, but I should have probably also went ahead and done a 2000 grit as well, just to add in a little bit more polish to it. Not a big deal, you can't really tell because of all the paint, but just something I wanted to point out. And in terms of the paint on the energy effects, this was the first time I was doing something on a spherical rounded object rather than a flat object, just because a beam saber you can kind of fake with it being just a sword. This was a whole new venture, so I had to kind of do a little experimenting and look up some pictures and try to figure out how I can make this look as real as possible. I don't think I did the most perfect job, but it's not terrible as well. It was a good first try, and I'm excited to do more. I'm glad that a lot of the earlier Bandai Figure-Eye standard Dragon Ball Z kits came with energy effects. So all in all, this was a really awesome experience. I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad that I have a ton more Dragon Ball Z kits in my backlog just to try out completely new and different ideas. I really want to get down the concept of painting a humanoid type figure just so I can expand my horizon and my repertoire of model kits and stuff like that, and skills and everything like that. It's a really fun time to always try out something different, so this was a great experience for that. And I ended up gifting this to a good friend of mine who got a really nice promotion at work, so I figured there you go, he's moving on to bigger and better things. I know he really likes Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, so I sent it on over to him, and I'm glad that he's enjoying it. And hopefully in the future we can get a new spec of the Gohan figure. This is a fan favorite, and while it's not bad by any means, it's just not really on the market anymore, and it seems like they've improved the bodies of the newer ones, at least with Vegeta and Goku, so it'd be really cool if they did that with Gohan as well. Alright guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I know I had a good time building this kit and trying something completely out of my scope, and I'm hoping I can improve on future builds just to make them look even better. I'm going to do some research and see what we can do for next time.